we're getting in there. This is going to be not a crazy long episode, but pretty decent. Let's go ahead and rattle off a few of those newsy bits before we get into the meaty stories. We got 2 of them this week. So what you got for newsy bits?
Yeah, so Rainbow Six Siege is getting a Rick and Morty update. You're getting a couple of skins, a Pickle Rick with the mouse head and a Gromflamite. I'm Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick.
And a Gromflamite. So those will be coming out soon for those Rainbow Six Siege players. Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is getting 2 new DLC characters. Ryu, the Crimson Hawk Ranger, and Chun-Li, the Blue Phoenix Ranger. And I gotta say, it looks really dope. They play exactly like their Street Fighter counterparts. I'd say Street Fighter 4 counterparts. And
if they were to fashion their own Power Ranger armor.
Yeah, they look good.
It's neat.
They look really fucking cool. I would love to see like other characters from other video games as Power Rangers.
It's a cool concept. I imagine the cosplay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Man.
And I'm sure there's a bunch of cosplay of people already doing shit like that.
Yeah.
But the last thing I've got, Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis is having a new event called Anal Battle Space-Time Interstice. I'm sorry, I mean, it's Final Battle Space-Time Interstice. Apparently, the font that Sega used to promote this event makes Final look like anal. If you don't believe me, look it up.
Oh, yeah, Kotaku reported on that, yeah.
Yeah.
When you brought that to my attention today, I was like, oh, no. What is an interstice?
I wonder, man, and that's more confusing than the anal battle.
Yeah, that I get.
I know what that is.
Who hasn't been in an anal battle, to be honest? But what's an interstice?
But what is interstice is...
That sounds dirtier than anal battle. I don't like it. It sounds medical almost.
Yeah, I gotta perform an interstice on this anal.
No.
On this anal passageway. Jesus. Sounds like an inner stitch.
Let's stop there.
Yeah.
All right. I got a couple things. I got a couple things to rattle off real quick. So for those who don't know, out right now, Resident Evil Village demo, the first demo for PS4 that's been made available, and a new demo for PS5. I think it's the same across both platforms. Should be interesting. Maybe it'll be more combat oriented. The original demo for Village was more exploration oriented and just showing off the PS5. I'm going to download that today and check it out, and I'll talk about it this upcoming Friday when we record for the next episode. So look forward to that, and check it out yourselves. Maybe we can compare notes. Rumors were spreading like wildfire this week that Square Enix was up for sale. It is not.
Yeah.
Square Enix shot that down. They're like, no, we're not up for sale. We're fine. But it got me thinking about company buyouts. Normally, I'm opposed to them for obvious reasons. No consolidation, please. Too powerful. Break it up.
Right.
But I was thinking about what company buyout, if I had to see one, what I might enjoy, and I thought of one example. I don't know if you can think of any off the dome, but Omega Force, Koei Tecmo, they do such a bad job with their IP, like Dynasty Warriors in particular lately, and Samurai Warriors and all that. But whenever they're contracted by another studio or by Nintendo, like Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors, Persona 5 Strikers, they do an amazing job. I kind of want Nintendo to buy Koei Tecmo. I want Nintendo to buy Koei Tecmo. I want Nintendo to buy Koei Tecmo and make them make good games. Make them make good games. And I want Lu Bu and Smash. I want to play as Lu Bu and Smash.
And then all the characters, it's Lu Bu!
All right. And then like the red hair comes through as like the final smash and like knocks them all down. And you just hear... Speaking of which... That Dynasty Warriors influence, like, guitar is really coming through in the 6th gym, dude, in Osaka. Yeah. Like, it's an extension of a song you've already heard in, I think, the 2nd dungeon, the one with the writer. But they extend it, and it sounds so Dynasty Warriors. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
For guys like you and me that's been playing the Warriors games for a while, you just have that particular guitar riff or that guitar style, that electric guitar stuck in your head. Mm-hmm. It's so good. So,
can't wait.
That's a little sidebar, but yeah, can you think of any buyouts that you think would be a good idea?
I'm trying to think of who's not doing a good job. Oh, obviously Konami needs to get bought by somebody.
Oh God, yes. You are so right. I was amazed they showed up in the Indie Showcase, by the way. We'll talk about that later, but that was a surprise to me, and I'm like, I guess they are in Indie status now.
And before I would have said Sony. Mm-hmm. But the way that Sony
needs new leadership.
Its own their own first party stuff, and
we'll talk about that
remake and No Days Gone 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know who I would have buy them. Maybe Honestly, I feel like Microsoft could. I don't care if I don't care who buys them as long as they have them make good games.
Right.
That's it.
I wouldn't
And
mind
I'll buy your
Nintendo.
system.
Nintendo already has a pretty solid relationship with them. I wouldn't mind if Nintendo also bought them.
Yeah, but my only thing with that is if Nintendo buying them kept their games off of PlayStation and stuff.
Oh, you're right, and it totally would.
I wouldn't want that.
Yeah. Well, maybe Square could buy them. Or no, Capcom. Capcom should buy Konami, dude.
Oh man.
Yeah, Capcom buy Konami.
Over here not losing.
buy it for a song.
I just want to take time to reminisce on the days where Capcom was kind of shit.
Yeah.
And how they just brought themselves up.
And they just turned that boat around. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
God.
If they can do it, anybody can. Even Konami, but I don't have much faith.
No.
All right, well, let's get into there's two big stories this week. There is the story in regards to the CMOS battery and the story in regards to the Switch Indie Showcase that happened. Let's talk about CMOS first. So, this was broken by multiple outlets, but I believe the original person who has been talking about this for a while and broke and showed an example on Twitter and on YouTube at Hikikomori Media, which makes it sound a lot more Japanese than it is. He does a lot of breakdown of Japanese games, but he's just some random white dude. Seems like a nice guy, though. he said that there's an issue that people maybe want to be aware of that, a lot of people on the hacking scene have known for a while. There's a thing called a CMOS battery inside every PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. It keeps track of the current time, whether the system is on or off. It's battery powered. If this battery dies or is removed, it raises an internal flag in the system's firmware indicating that that clock may be out of sync with reality. So when the flag comes up, the system checks with PlayStation Network to confirm the time. If it can't, on the PlayStation 3, it will prevent booting up of digital content, regardless if it's PlayStation Plus or you actually own it, like you bought the license and there isn't supposed to be a time limit for that. It'll say there is and not allow you to play it. And with the network shutting down, if you have an old PlayStation 3 and the CMOS battery runs out, you won't have any way to update, and then therefore time is ticking on your digital games. Even worse, on the PlayStation 4, if the check occurs, it will actually stop you from playing both digital and physical media. Holy shit. Holy shit.
That's why I need a PS5.
Yeah. Now, is this check going to happen anytime soon? It depends. I mean, if you have the oldest model of PS3, it's possible you might be running low on CMOS because I think they last about a decade or so. I have one of those slim boys, so I probably have a little bit more time than most, maybe. A good indicator, because one of the things that it keeps track of is your theme settings. So if you boot up your PS3 and your theme doesn't boot up automatically and you have to go and recalibrate your theme to the one you want, it's possible your CMOS battery is out of sync. If it is, you can buy a new one and have it installed and then do that check before the store dies in July. But again, this is a problem Sony could easily fix just by, releasing a firmware update that limits the system functions tied to this timing check. So far, though, despite people reaching out to Sony directly multiple times, they have not indicated any such plans. That's concerning. And yet another reason, you got to go for that physical media, except for PlayStation 4. You got to go for that PS5.
Right, basically.
It sucks.
Can
I just say that Jim Ryan is the worst?
Yeah. And it does suck, but it's so far off into the future where it's kind of like, I don't know if I'm not going to care at that point. Mm-hmm. Especially if there's still a backwards compatible console, or if I can just find a new PS4 or whatever for cheap. But, it all just depends. Am I still going to be trying to be playing PS4 in 20 years is what I'm saying.
Yeah. These things are a little up in the air because of how Sony's acting lately, especially with one of its leaders, Jim Ryan, being like, who wants to play old games? They look like shit. Having no idea why archival or preservation of these older titles is a priority for some is concerning.
Meanwhile, he's playing Tetris on his phone.
Right. There's definitely a legacy issue here with Sony that's cropping up with the closure of the stores and their attitudes towards their older titles, especially when you juxtapose it to Nintendo. And right now, the exemplary being Microsoft, of all companies. Mm-hmm. And again, we talked about this before. They switch back and forth. At the previous generation, Sony was on top. The generation before that, it was Xbox. The generation before that, it was Sony. They just keep handing it back and forth. They get successful by doing things correctly. Forget what made them successful. Get greedy and or stupid. Fall back, reorient, and then try again. It's this endless
Right.
cycle of not learning anything from your past mistakes and successes.
It's very
Come on.
interesting. I don't understand it.
Yeah. I don't understand it either. But yeah, right now, Microsoft seems to be the most friendly to consumers, which they kind of have to be. They're in that position like where they don't have too many exclusives, but they're buying stuff up. So again, that may change too. So then we have the Nintendo Switch Indie Showcase this week.
Ooh, indie games.
So many games were announced. So many, we're not going to list them all. We're just not. The show is too long as it is. But I did want to talk about a few that stood out to me. I know there's a few that stood out to you. So let's go through that list. There was 8 games, I think, that between the two of us, we're marginally interested in, up to super excited about. The first game I wanted to talk about is this game called Road 96 from Digix Art. It's going to release later this year. It seems kind of like a story-based game where it has a ton of different scenarios. Think like a Telltale game, but in the style of a road trip, where depending on you take the bus or you hitchhike or you call a cab, you get wildly different scenarios. And the way that the trailer played out and the writing and the scenarios, I actually found it really interesting, to be honest. I don't usually go for these types of games, not 100% of the time, but the way it was presented, it looked to me like the decisions you make divulged so wildly in your trip, wherever you're trying to get to, that I'm low-key kind of excited about it. I want to check it out. So I'm going to be watching that one closely.
It's giving me a Life is Strange 2 vibe, so I'm kind of like,
Yeah, because you just got off of that. But maybe it'll do it better. Who knows?
Maybe.
Then we have, this is a big one, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge from Tribute Games. This is published by Dotemu, who are the guys that published Streets of Rage 4. And it's coming out later this year. It looks like it's just ripped straight out the 80s, dude. The art style, the characters, all from that cartoon. It looks so good. It
Looks like it's in a Chuck E. Cheese right now.
ADGP, if you listening, help. No, if you listening, I need you to buy this game, because the four of us need to get the Driptastic 4 into those turtle shells, and we need to kick some ass. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. And I'm all out of shells to ass kick.
I'm here to chew bubble gum, and I'm here to eat pizza and kick shell, and I'm all out of pizza. Wait, there's some on the ground. 'Cause that's
eat so pizza. I'm not out. I'm gonna eat that. I'm just gonna blow that pizza. I'm
gonna eat that ground pizza to get my health back. That's a beat 'em up joke.
Oh yeah.
The Longing. The Longing from Studio Surfs. Anyways, The Longing is from a German indie developer that, man, this actually looked really interesting. So the guy in the interview talked about how he was visiting a cave that had some old ancient myth about it, like an old king was slumbered there that people were waiting to wake up, and he was inspired by that. And so the game is basically you waiting 400 real-time days for the return of your king and doing mundane tasks while this counter ticks off above you. And it looks chill and low-key, but also super interesting at the same time. I don't know if it's the art style or the character or the tasks or the world that I'm really keen to explore. I don't know. What about it spoke to you?
Nothing, because it looks boring as hell.
Oh, so you want to talk about it because you hate it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just...
You had mentioned you want to talk about it. I thought you were interested in it like me, but you're like, no, fuck that.
Yeah, no. The concept, to me, is something that's hard for me to wrap my head around. Like, literally waiting for an actual 400 days. And I know that it said you don't have to wait the whole time. But when I saw that time ticking down, real world seconds, I was just like, what could possibly be interesting enough to hold my attention for this long? So I'm wondering if there's like an in-game way to skip forward, or if you put your system's internal clock forward in time and that'll push the game forward. But I don't know. The concept is interesting. Like waiting on the king and the lone servant, and he's just kind of doing shit around the castle, wherever, underground. It kind of makes me feel like it would be better served if it was kind of like a Hollow Knight type.
So you want like more stuff to do while you're waiting,
exploring and like fighting some sort of enemies. Like there's some, let's say there, and this could happen. I don't know.
I didn't see any combat. There was a lot of exploration. Like he was definitely walking around the cave and doing different shit.
There's an external force trying to break in and destroy the tomb of the king, and you got to protect it until he rises. Like that just seems more interesting to me than just doing mundane things for 400 days. But
I'll say this for the game, and maybe this is part of the reason why I'm interested in it. I've never seen anything done exactly the same way that this is being done, and maybe you just need to know more about it. It is out now. I think it's like $15. I put it in my wish list, seeing if it goes on sale or not. I might go ahead and get it because it sounds like you would have enough game to warrant $15. But I don't like to buy a game right out, sight unseen, without hearing any reviews or anything. So I just put it in the wish list so I know it's there. And depending on what I hear about it, I may go full price. I may wait for it to go on sale. But I just think it's an interesting concept. And you're right. It may turn out to be totally lame. But I love indie games because of shit like this, because they can experiment and do... This would never happen in a AAA game.
Right.
Like, hey, the newest Final Fantasy. Wait
millions of dollars.
Wait. So, cool experiment. So that's out now. We talked earlier about Aerial Knights Never Yield. I played the demo. The game itself drops on the 19th of May. So if you're interested at all after playing the demo, that's when you can play that game. Then we had Aztec Forgotten Gods from Lienzo. Aztec Forgotten Gods. I think that's a Mexican studio. And I think this looks epic and neat. Like, it looks kick-ass. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, is this the one that looks kind of like it played like a PS2 era?
Yeah, it's like the warrior who gets that giant fist. Yeah, and there's a lot of action.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It looks really dope.
It does. The art style looks good. It explores lore that I don't know as much about. You know, it's not your classic Japanese or Western fantasy. It's like straight out of Aztec history and their gods and their myths. It's a way to
stuff that you're real familiar with.
Yeah. It's a way to get you familiar with something, a style that's not delved into too much. I don't even think Persona does Aztecian or Mayan gods, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I know as far as that is Quetzalcoatl from Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's about it. So, I mean, the gameplay looks tight. It looks action packed. The main character design looks really cool. Like, she looks like she kicks a lot of ass. I'm into it. So,
yeah.
And then after that, we got Getsu Fumaden, Undying Moon, from little-known indie developer Konami Digital Entertainment, alongside Guru Guru. So, little small studio. All they do is pachinko, I hear, but they're delving into games.
Yeah, they're making their mark on the industry.
So apparently, this was a classic game that had already come out under Konami back in the 8-bit era, I think. If I could be completely wrong on this, but I do know it's like a remake, and it looks like beautiful Japanese art. It's kind of like a 2D side-scrolling adventure action game. It looked like to me. It's one to watch. Again, Konami's dips back into video game development have not been, like, think about Contra recently, not been super great. I'm hopeful, cautiously optimistic, because of the art style and what was presented in the trailer, that this could be something decent. So that will be coming out next year. So we got some time before they end up putting it out there for us to check out. So
nice.
Another indie game from Korean developers, I believe South Korean developers, called Southpaw Games. It's called Skull the Hero Slayer. This is coming out in the summer, and it looks awesome. It's a side-scrolling game where you play as a skeleton warrior who can switch his skulls to get different powers, like that of other skeleton-type enemies in games, like a Lich, Battle Mage, Skeleton Knight, stuff like that. And you're attacking heroes, that hence the name Skull, the Hero Slayer. Yeah, Metroidvania, it looks cool. It looks really cool. Great animation, great use of imaginative powers, stuff like that. So one to watch as well. Definitely something I think I want to try. And the last thing that was on our radar coming out later this year from Megapixel Studio is the House of the Dead remake.
Yes.
I didn't get a whole lot of details, and I don't think I've played a light gun shooter on the Switch yet. I'm assuming they would just use the motion sensing and the Joy-Cons, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any peripherals or anything yet. I don't know. I don't trust the accuracy of the motion sensing and the Joy-Cons. I mean, to be honest, though, when I was playing with Super Mario Galaxy on the All-Stars collection, it was pretty decent with the Star Bits pointer. So maybe it'll be okay.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be just fine.
Now, like modern shooters, it's going to feel more like a remote than a gun. And to get a gun experience, you either have to get a CRT and go back and do GunCon games on PS2 or play VR. But even with the remote style, it's going to be probably a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it looks really good.
Yeah.
How the different parts of the zombies blast off when you hit them there, and even down to the bad voice acting.
Yeah.
They brought the bad voice acting back, and I was just like, yay.
That House of the Dead cheese.
Yes, I cannot wait.